Welcome to the first episode of the Shazpod. Joining me, I am Tweak, and joining me we have Greth.
Hello.
Also with me is Mask.
Howdy.
And last but not least, we have hirezbart joining us for this one.
Howdy.
Right.
Well, last but not least, we'll have to see, depending on the community feedback.
That's fair.
All right.
Yeah, so I'll ask the first question. This has to be the first question. When you guys acquired the IP, did you know what the hell you were getting into?
I started with Hi-Rez like probably 3 months, maybe 4 months into the initial development of what was then kind of Tribes Universe, which was a kind of undefined MMO style project in the Tribes Universe. Kind of when I started it, it quickly become Tribes Ascend, so it was becoming, let's try to make this this multiplayer shooter game for Tribes. And I knew personally, because I've been a big Tribes fan and a Tribes player for quite some time now, that it was going to be it's a very passionate community. So I knew, and I think that they had a good idea of what to expect in terms of I guess like evangelists for Tribes, but
fundamentalists,
I guess
hard warriors,
make whatever kind of religious analogy that is appropriate. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the best answer to that question is I think that we probably did have a good idea of what to expect. I mean, there's a couple of guys that used to play a lot of Tribes back in the day, and kind of. A lot of the guys, I've said this a couple times, like a lot of the guys actually are bigger Tribes nerds than me, which is really surprising. And I've whooped their tails because I'm just a better player because I've played a lot of Tribes, but they know more about the lore and all the art and, decisions that Dynamix made with the IP and all this stuff. So, it's in good hands is what I would say. And I think that they were pretty aware of how passionate the community.
And they're all now in witness protection.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. My real name's like Steven.
You say passionate, I prefer the term cutthroat sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was pretty involved in the 10-year tournament with Tribes 2, back when it was, I think, Wormwood, and those guys were running it, and I really got a more first-hand taste of where the community is right at that moment, which was probably about almost a year ago now, 6, 7, 8 months probably. And, all of the kind of rule screwing as I don't know what our age range is for the tournament, or for the podcast here, but, I mean, it was like there was just lots of, wheeling and dealing and behind the scenes. So, I mean, there's definitely a need, I think, for someone that, I'm no better than anyone else in the community, but I have Hi-Rez in front of my name, so people tend to listen when I'm like, it's going to be a best of 3 tournament, and you don't have a 500 post thread like, no, it should be best of 5 and best of 7. It's like that was like desperately needed, I think, in just the Tribes community was someone that they could point to, and that's kind of why I really wanted to get involved as part of the competitive scene, as the kind of competitive and esports manager for the IP is I think that like especially around creating a rule set, which was kind of the initial focus of the competitive and esports forum was like, hey, let's try to nail down just a baseline. Just try to answer and address that issue that I was just talking about, where it's like, if no one can agree, I mean, you have no parity between even Tribes 1 and Tribes 2 players as to what is the best way to do things. So when you're looking at a new Tribes...
Vengeance guys.
Yeah, and the Vengeance guys, and then you also have Aerial Assault guys that are like, why can't we do this X and Y, and, why isn't there hit correction or whatever? I don't know what they want, because I never...
Where are the grapplers?
Right, I mean, you see everyone falling through the wayward, where's the grappler thread, but... I mean, I think what's really important for the beginnings of the scene is obviously getting buy-in from sponsors, getting some professional teams going as soon as possible, and with those little growing pains, and then also having a consistent baseline for this is competitive Tribes rule set, and then if TWL and OGL want to make a comeback, and Cow League and whoever else game battles, host tournaments, sure. And, they can have their own rule sets, but part of my mission is to have a somewhat universally agreed upon rule set that we're saying this is a fair playing field. And that's kind of...
That's what usually rips apart the community as well. I mean, you see, I come a little bit from the Call of Duty scene where at the end of Call of Duty 4, the entire community was in ruin because the pro mods were fighting each other. And that's something you really can't let happen.
Right. That's something that I think that we're starting just as a community to solidify some of that stuff. And then I know that private service support and the invitational and everything, all that is kind of the steps in the right direction to sussing out what we do want and what we don't want.
Yeah, some of the I've seen a lot of the flags on one of your posts, and one of them is the health regen. And what is the typical consensus that we're thinking we're going to see for that? Personally, I like having no regen in a competitive circuit. I think it really makes health management that much more important, and it makes you getting hit on the way to a flag cap a lot more dangerous to keep going in.
Sure. That one is probably, of that list, one of the most ethereal or the hardest to kind of nail down right now is exactly what the treatment's going to be for it. I know that I guess it's also a question of what can I get development time for, because it's right now the way it stands is we could just turn off health regen, and it's okay, well then you can pick up and basically be everyone gets survivalist perk. That basically makes survivalist perk table stakes. If you don't have it, you're just going to die. So it's I am looking at, what, and in the upcoming months probably try to get some more feedback on what is the ideal way to do it. I mean, right now it's still so far out to expect that kind of change for pub, but for competitive, we've talked about a bunch of different things, to be honest. I mean,
yeah.
One of the things that I like the most probably is the activatable health regen.
Yeah, there's been rather extensive
health kit, but it's just not droppable. You have to just kind of suicide. There's pros and cons to all the systems, I think.
Yep. What do you think about it, Mask? What do you think the health regen system should be?
Well, preferably I like T1, T2, not much TV. I would like a health kit to be involved, but I don't know. We're in a new age for tribes with this new IP and development and games, so it's just got to be tested. I don't know. There's got to be testing involved with, I don't know, the 3 or 4 different situations that we can do here. I could see where the GA, the Global Agenda, was it active.
Rest, I believe.
Yeah, the rest button could happen, but that depends on the cooldown and how long the cooldown is and how long it's going to take, and so I don't know. Testing comes to mind. I think there's everything involved just needs testing. Just throw a whole bunch of ideas out, throw them on a wall, and see what sticks.
Yeah, and the upcoming tourney will be good for that. Because another thing that we've got on the list here is, of course, the credit system. Whether or not it's going to play a role, well, it's going to play a role, but to what extent in the upcoming tourneys as well.
Right.
So, the list of polls has been posted on the forums that has been debated about. I think everyone agreed to have a pooled system where everyone's credits go into one little basket. But then, of course, merit-based or not, and the fixed income and all that. I think the cap has probably also been agreed upon, but the big issue is still the merit-based thing.
Right.
If you get a headshot, you get more points, so it's going to be player-focused, less than team-focused.
I really like the merit-based, probably because it reminds me a lot of League of Legends when I played it. Getting those kills rewards you personally, as well as, pushing your team that much further. And I think it's really useful to bring about more dynamic gameplay. You'll see crazier plays because of it.
My kind of general feeling on that is, I think, there's consensus around pooled credits in a fixed amount of income. At least, basically, it looks like what most people want is, everything that you do goes towards a general pool that your team can use. And that your team starts with X, whatever X is, let's call it 5,000. And then the question to me is there still a slow trickle coming in, MOBA style? Which is kind of what was being discussed. I think what you guys were alluding to was, if you start with 5,000, do you get 2 credits a second for the rest of the game, and on top of merit base, and then merit base, you can even dive down into that, and it gets even a little more tricky there, where it's like, is it that when all actions that are currently rewarded in the credit system are rewarded at a quarter of its current rate in a competitive system, or are certain things balanced, quote unquote, balanced for credits in different ways? Like, are kills not important, but generator destructions are, and turrets? Or, I mean, because part of the reason that I think that we want, and I want the merit system, at least as part of it, and I see a lot of people talking about like a 70-30, 60-40 split between fixed and merit.
Yeah.
And I think all of that is, reasonable, in terms of the universe of what we want to do. But part of what's really nice about the merit system, at least having some impact, is that for esports specifically, it allows you to look at a player, look at a game, and be like, Gref is my favorite player of all time, let's say.
Of course he is.
And I'm a Tribes esports consumer. And I want to go into a game and I want to see that he's got the biggest score next to his name, that he's contributing the most to his team because that's my favorite player. That's how you get the stars, right? If there is no, I mean, and look at Tribes 2. It's like the scoring system is like nothing but light defense is at the top of it, right? And heavy offense occasionally. But it's all, the way they score it is like, that's one of the main complaints that I heard about T2 competitive was like, this scoring system is so just bizarre and it really doesn't mean anything. Like, you don't necessarily need to know, from a score perspective, who's capping the flag. You want to know who's whooping ass.
I saw the Tribes cast of the tournament that just went on. And, it's just, okay, people are fighting, but it's like the blob against the blob a little bit. Of course, with only 8 people on our team, it's going to be better. But, I can see, like, scenes, like, highlight reels of Ascend, and you can just see the top player mid-airing 3 or 4 people, and let's just say theoretically earning his team a grab cycle or something.
Sure. That's really awesome, because then you can point to that guy and be like, that play turned the game, instead of basically the kind of the podcast and the consumer experience for the esport being like, it decreases the barrier to entry for the esport consumer, because it's much harder for them to say, look how well Slush fits into this role as a capper for Turtles or whatever team he was playing on in the tournament, right? It's like, wow, that's a really great role player. I really hope that I can be as good at him as that role someday. That's kind of like the second tier of understanding of the game. The first tier for the consumer should be like, for esports, the esports consumer is going to be like, that was awesome. I want to do that because he killed 4 dudes and got his team a grab cycle. And then he starts playing. He's like, I want to kill 4 dudes and get my team a grab cycle. And then he's like, oh, look, I should be playing light defense. That's what I want to do. And really understand the roles and be like, I want to be the best, greatest of all time LD.
That's what makes things like League of Legends and StarCraft so popular in the esports community. Is it's a very simple concept. You destroy the base or destroy the enemy team, and cool things happen in between. Tribes has that same sort of setup. You get 2 flags, 2 teams, and that allows them to have that bang, boom, whiz for everyone to watch and go ooh and ah over, which is a very good intro into the esports scene.
Yeah, because that is actually, because Mask is here, I saw his frag movie, and that made me unlock the Pathfinder. So, very well done for you. No, really, I just went straight in and I went, I'm going to do this. Splatter against the wall, out of bounds field, against 300 miles an hour. Dead. I tried.
See what I'm doing for you, Brett, or Bart? See what I'm doing for you?
It was a really nice video.
But that made me kill myself many times. Before I said, maybe we'll baby steps. Let's try to kill the rangers on the floor first before going for the flag.
Pathfinder's really quick, and I've actually noticed throughout the beta, when I first started, there was a lot of jumpers around, but now I'm seeing a lot more Pathfinders than jumpers. Has anyone noticed that?
Yeah.
That's just a natural kind of fall
than Oslo.
I think one of the things about the jumper, and the jumper to me is always going to be like the class that the best noob in the noob bracket is going to wreck everyone with. Like I don't necessarily see a lot of utility for it outside of extremely specialized in comp play, because it basically does not get above kind of like 150 to 180 consistently ever, where a Pathfinder could kind of easily keep a 200 ski going, and you can just overtake jumpers so easily because they're really stuck to one vector. They don't turn very well. They don't accelerate very well above like 150, 160. It's a very the class caps out in terms of skill very, very low compared to some of the other classes. Yeah. And that's kind of why I personally, I see a lot of rage about it, and I'll get into a rabbit match and it'll be like me versus one guy who's playing jumper. And it's it can be infuriating trying to chase him down, but as long as you game it, I was playing a guy who was, kind of abusing the ski stop, letting go of spacebar and kind of our stop distances, and then redirecting his momentum very quickly with the jumper, was making right angles. And, it took me forever to figure it out, but once I got him to commit, I could disc jump and catch him and impact nitro on the flag out from him in Pathfinder, and then he didn't catch me the rest of the match. And I won 30 to 28 or whatever. I mean, it was so it's kind of that's, I think, part of the reason why you're going to see less and less jumpers, Doombringers, and some of these other classes that just don't have a very high skill ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mask, you want to come in on this?
The only thing, I don't really have an issue with the jumper, I guess. I don't like the change momentum that it can include, but I guess it's what gives it appeal to some. But, I mean, with Pathfinder, I can catch it. Actually, I've caught it with a Raider several times, too. So, it just, I mean, you've got to time it correctly, but, I mean, if you're in light, this is one complaint I've had, is, the Pathfinder, you get a nice midair on the jumper, it's done. One shot, it's dead. Mm-hmm. So, things like that, I'm not going to say one class is overpowered over another, because I've actually taken out Raiders with a Pathfinder, even with their shields and their hit scan, or their submachine gun and their grenade. And so, but the jumper to me isn't, the only thing that I think it looks good with is quick flag grab, throw it in midfield, let your teammate pick it up and run.
Yeah, he's like the E-grab specialist.
Yeah, the only specialist I see is that.
Right, so maybe we can go straight into that topic, maybe. With the upcoming tournaments, what's a team going to be looking like? I mean, the setup, what's going to be the setup, the loadout being used, is going to be a lot of switching going on, a lot of pure, maybe specializing in certain loadouts, what we're going to see?
I think it varies. I think you're going to see a lot of Rangers with hit scan, with the thumper. Mm-hmm. You're going to see some Pathfinders. I don't think you're going to see that many though. I think a lot of people are going to be abusing the extra HP that the Ranger has and thumper, and just from like hell. You're going to see some heavy out. To be honest, the game to me right now feels very defensive. If you could have, I don't know, the class has a force field for the heavy. I mean, hell, you have 4 force fields up. I mean, you're not going to grab the flag. I mean, you've got a llama grab the entire time. So maybe that's where the jumper comes into play,
It depends on how well the offense is doing, though, because I've seen some matches where the enemy team tried that, but the team, I'm shocked that the Blubbies actually did this. They actually shifted and sent 3 HOs off and just mortared the heck out of the flag stand and cleared the way. So it depends a lot, but I do see the defensive mode being really strong here.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing for competition, too. You have to adapt. You don't just stay, here's our strat, we're going to do this the entire game, and pray that we win. It just doesn't happen that way.
Maybe with 2 sharks it will.
I still love the team name of Buff Strike.
I think
there's a laughing going on there.
One of the things that I would wager that is different because of health regen and no med kits is that turtling is going to be much less effective, would be my guess. Just given that you could get a scrambler and infiltrator in there and take out that flag carrier, and there's very little opportunity. Like, if you can get their gens down and he can't drop the flag and hit a inventory pad and get its respawn regen going. And I just think there's more opportunity for you to get in there and disrupt a turtle, even the current system. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing necessarily, but my guess would be that a lot of our maps are going to be, I would think a lot of them are going to be landslides. I think that it's going to be a momentum-based thing right now, more than anything. If the other team, especially if one team is organized and the other is not, that's really what it comes down to. Like, I think maybe in Tribes 2 you could get away a little bit more with having a little bit less organization at, obviously not at like super high level what's still going on, but back kind of like when the game was really going. Like you could beat a team that was more organized than you just because you had better players. Because you could turtle up, or you could get a bunch of caps, or you have one star HO that just kept everything down forever. But kind of with just the way Ascend is playing when I play it, it just seems like it's going to be much less of a turtle game. More, I agree that it's very defensive right now, and the defense wins championships in Tribes certainly. But I think that I think maybe there'll be a little bit less turtling, just given kind of the class dynamic and the way you don't regen health with the flag, or not health kits, and you can't just toss health kits with the flag. I think that there may be, or we may just see a bunch of people taking Beowulf down into the generator room and turtling. I mean, it's like, who knows, but my explanation is that it's going to be a faster pace.
I don't think it's necessarily turtling that's going to be the issue. I mean, you can have, let's say you've got 4 people trying to return, you've got 4 people back home defending, right, and you've got your flag carrier back there. It's going to be a lot of flag passing. I mean, you're going to have, let's say, 2 heavies. You're going to have a ranger of some type, or a raider, or, a soldier or whatever, and then you're going to have probably another medium outload or loadout as well, and they're just going to be passing the flag back and forth, just, high-fiving each other with the goddamn flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in terms of class dynamic, you mentioned the Raider. I can see that being a very potent offensive class, especially when trying to chase after the flag carrier. Especially if he's a heavy, that grenade launcher can do a huge amount of damage and take him down pretty quickly.
Especially with turtling, but you have to. It is tricky to keep the speed up with the Raider, because you've got to ski the best you can, but that class doesn't really offer a lot of things to boost itself. You've got to be able to nade jump, but that's kind of tricky. But like I said, with the case of turtling, to be honest, if you're going to turtle inside the base, I would just take a Pathfinder, and I would just grenade everything, and hoping that you get a flag drop, and then return it and control K.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that maybe you could run, if you ran a scrambler, an infiltrator, and a Pathfinder in a base, regardless of who's turtling. I mean, unless they have, sensor jammers down to find that infiltrator and all, unless they're looking to counter that, it's going to be really tough to stop an invisible guy, a guy that your turrets don't see, and someone who's going to knock the flag off your carrier right away. Yeah, and it's like, and there's an example of, two, very specialized loadout classes from, this game specifically, kind of affecting the gameplay flow a little bit. And, because at that point, it's like, okay, what do you run? That's like I could see teams maybe having sets for, like, this is our turtle breaking squad. We got a brute or a juggernaut, infiltrator, scrambler, Pathfinder. All right, send us into the base. That didn't work. Right. 2 heavy offense, infiltrator, Pathfinder. It's like, what? I really see that being more of a thing. It's like, and then it wouldn't surprise me to see teams having a guy that does nothing but run up to the flag carrier and suicide over and over and over again. Like that, honestly, yeah. I would be like, that's a good threat.
That happens all the time this is back in Tribes 1 Renegades, with people would look for beacons, because you get a triple boost, right? Mm-hmm. So people would suicide right into their way, and they'd continue skiing the entire time. They'd just pick up their beacons and run like hell.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the we talked a lot about role switching, loadout changing. Somebody mentioned it earlier, and it kind of brings the point of another one of the server flags like we touched on earlier. Spawning as soldier. I think a lot of people in the competitive scene really agree with spawning as a set class and having to use the inventory station. Do you think that's going to make it into the invitational tournament we got going?
No. It's very highly unlikely that any server flags will be active during this. Okay. This is like, I think I put it in a post, maybe I said on IRC, but like, this is like 0.2 version, like 0.2 implementation of private servers.
Fair
like,
enough.
honestly, like the reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm doing this in general is to just basically stress test. Can we like take a server from Australia, Europe, or North America at any time and be like, this one is private, it's password protect, or like, the way it's going to work now is a little bit different because it's, like I said, it's very early implementation, but basically it'll say, can you, can we flag accounts specifically to be able to get into this private server?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen?
It's going to be a lot of duct tape involved.
Absolutely. This is like bare bones implementation, proof of concept sort of thing. So server flags are highly unlikely. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I could go in Monday and I could have a programmer walk up to me and be like, guess what I did this weekend? It could happen, but I wouldn't expect it. So that's kind of, maybe something to be good to talk about just from my end is expectations of, what I really want to see is just, I want to see what's wrong with the current system, which doesn't mean go out and, abuse things that or you suspect are broken. I understand that there's going to be 2 strikes on the field for ZP and Mayog.
We were talking about that before the podcast.
But, I think that it'd be interesting to see how it plays in a quote-unquote competitive setting with just the base stock try to defend rule set. And that at least will give us more of an idea of where to kind of focus attention for changing things for competitive. Like, even now, it's like the only experience anyone has is like 80% pickup groups with, 5 bad players on either side or something. It's like, that's like the best you can do right now. So it'll be great to have, just a concentrated group of 8 and 8 or 7 and 7 or 10 and 10 or whatever it comes down to and watch the machinations of the best of 3 in the current rule set. I think that'll help really tease out what specifically is hindering, kind of the best play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the community will agree that we need a special skin for people who grab the flag under 50 kilometers an hour in the form of a certain mammal.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get in a little llama head or something accolade.
If you do it like 5 times in a match, you get the accolade.
Yeah.
Or if you only cap after 5 minutes or something, you get an accolade. Where the hell have you been?
Yeah, all around the world, over 10,000 meters skied with the flag.
That's great.
So yeah, basically we don't the loadouts. No dice. Damn it.
Fair enough. What about
Yeah, you won't be spawning a naked, unfortunately. I mean, unless that somehow gets in. I mean, that I think is kind of like a given. Like, I don't know that there really needs to be a lot of discussion around it because I think that's something that's necessary. Like, I think you kind of have to have that because, like, so I guess what I ideally want is I want to see I want to have I want to see destructible inventories and spawn in naked is kind of like the first 2 I want to see.
I am so glad to hear you say that, Bart. I really like that, and I agree with that a lot.
Well, I mean, I think that there's just, I mean, we're basically playing in the pub servers right now with, it's kind of like those old P1 servers of like, you can't raid the base until there's at least 8 people. It's kind of like we have that like enforced. And that's, it's probably a good thing. I think we can all agree that's probably, I mean, that's the reason they did it in the first place was because people would come in and want to play tribes, for the first time or second time or, they've been playing for a month and it's just like, I don't even understand what's going on. Like I go in my base and there's a heavy in there and he's got an inventory station and 7 turrets on Rain Dance.
Yeah.
and now there's 3 of them in there and they have ammo packs and there's going to be spam 20 minutes. Like, what do I even do here? Like, it's just like, there's that part of it, which I think is really good for pub play, that it's like, okay, you're always going to be able to play this thing that you bought or you earned and just have a good time. And then if you want to go play with, the big boys, or maybe it could be harder, there's going to be things where you're not going to get everything for free. And I think that's a really important part of the strategy is making it so that, and I know that people are frustrated right now kind of with the potency of heavy offense and I guess kind of like how technicians feel so tied to the generator. And like, I think that it just kind of goes, I think that'll help both fronts. The technicians will feel tied to the generator, but I think there'll be people in competitive play, obviously there'll be more defense-oriented around the base if the base is destructible. You know, you won't see as many, like, you know, all-flag defense sets with, you know, maybe one guy occasionally going to repair a generator and, you know, set up some turrets and try to keep it up. And maybe you have your sniper, if he's really aware, dropping a sensor jammer to spot any invis coming in. But, I mean, that's a really high-level pub play. And what you really want to see is you want to see people that are maintaining your base, and you want to see your monkeys actually, you know, having things to do besides try to shoot incoming cappers with their SMG and put 20 damage on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem with the way the sniper is perceived. It's a bit of a personal issue for me because that's one of the first I unlocked because I play snipers in games. I'm sorry, guys, but when I was on a pub and I got like 20 kills, my dear lord, the chats that was centered around me, like sentinels. But it's a pub. You know, if you're mostly the llama grabbers were actually complaining about me because, yeah, if you're going to hover still in the air, I'm sorry, but you're going to lose your head. But in competitive play, maybe, yeah, crossfire, I can see it happening, you know? But especially on the new map now in Katabatic, it's just, there's too many holes around. But we'll see what's going to happen there. So that's why I'm really stoked for that tournament to happen, so we can actually see, because I don't know. Well, maybe there will be sentinels riding strikes in some teams, but it'll be
It's actually pretty tough to stay on those strikes.
I don't know who you're talking about.
we used to play around with that. They actually used to be, you probably saw, back when Alpha was first, we let people preload it, and they got all in the game files. There was a map called Strike Map that had no ground, that was nothing but strikes, that we used to have little in-house battles with, and that was like, it was just really, really quickly put together just for us to mess around in as, like, you know, proof of concept. But you'd have to fly and have something else in your team. Like, there for you to jump on and have to be
Bart,
Stephen Hawking on podcast for a minute. Your connection's breaking up there, Bart.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're back now. Okay, good.
Remember name. But yeah, so like, you know, and find out firsthand, it can be difficult to stand on top of a flying strike, especially if that's the bank at all.
Alright, so I will translate. So it's very hard to stay on top of the strike. Yeah, you're just the robot voicing there a little bit, but alright. So what else we got? Hit scan?
Oh, should we touch on the hit scan?
Do we dare?
Well, you probably have noticed this part, but a lot of the community is fairly deathly against the idea of having the hit scan weapons, except for maybe like the sniper rifle in the game. Did you expect that backlash against the hit scan, or do you have any plans about maybe removing it or changing it a little bit?
Oh, I mean, can you guys hear me? Okay. I know that it's still saying my connection's kind of wonky.
You're right.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go try to suss that out in a minute. But hit scan. Yeah, I knew that it was going to be, you know, a thing. I personally was not that excited. I thought it was going to be much more impactful when I first heard about it as a, you know, something we were going to try out. I thought it was going to be much more impactful than I think it actually is. I think it's actually really pretty tough to do a lot with the hit scan. I mean, I hardly ever use them, and when I do, like, I'm sure it's effective, but I don't think it's any more or less effective than. I mean, actually, that's not true. I think it's less effective than just a disc in general. Like, as an infiltrator, right? I play infiltrator from time to time. I think it's funny to troll people with it, and you know, you get right up behind a heavy and you unload your whole clip at him and throw a sticky grenade at him, and half the time you die from your own sticky grenade, or he just turns around and one-shots you with a disc. And a lot of the hit scan just doesn't seem that powerful to me. I mean, the Ranger one, I guess I'm not that big of a Twitch shooter. I've always been more of a Tribes shooter. So I don't find them in my own gameplay, like, very powerful. And when I go up against them, it's not like, I don't feel like I get devastated by hit scan. I mean, maybe you guys feel differently. I mean, but I think, like, if I get the flag and I get out and I'm really high up in the air and I'm going to, like, you know, relatively fast, I feel much safer in Tribes Ascend given hit scan than I did in Tribes 2 or Tribes 1 given chain guns with projectiles. So
yeah. Now I'm mostly like I said, Call of Duty, Quake, and all that. So I'm used to that kind of guns. And now I have been playing the Ranger. I feel a bit embarrassed because I'm trying to surround myself with people who actually know the game, and playing Ranger kind of, well, lowers your standing. But it's the thing with the especially with the automatic rifle is, I think the spread right now is the problem, because if you get to a certain point, burst shooting doesn't really help, but the clip just goes everywhere. And if you single shot, it can be really strong. But after you actually start shooting, you need to be really lucky, because I've had points where heavies just fade away. I can just rip through them with a full clip. But other times, there's this light flying around. I empty my clip, maybe 2 clips into him, I'm chasing him. I can't kill him, even though I'm dead on.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it could be that I'm a very bad player, but I hope I'm not. But it's just that it's very random. So I think if you were to fix, just to see what will happen, fix a linear recoil on it, like in Call of Duty or the old Call of Duty is not number 4, but or Counter-Strike with a fixed pattern that people can actually direct it.
Really good.
Then you can see how really powerful they can be and whether or not they need tweaking, because that's exactly what's happening with the Raiders SMG right now, which it has almost no spread. It's dead on, but you lead. If you lead, you kill people in seconds. You see? And I think that Ranger is just a little bit too random.
Yeah, I mean, weapon balance is something that I can't really speak on that much because I'm not directly involved with that. So I think that's all still in flux very much. I mean, there's still some things, you look at and, don't make a lot of sense, or, we don't even really realize there because
Steven's back.
Faded out right at the end there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll 5 minutes ago.
Gobble, gobble, gobble.
But, yeah, weapon balance, I don't know. It's tough to say.
All right.
Alright,
Maybe another opinion. I know that was a specific question, but it's been bothering me because I've been playing Ranger all week. It had to come out.
Okay, so let me take 5 and see if I can figure out this internet.
sounds
Right.
good.
Mask, what do you think about that?
The hit scan doesn't bother me, to be honest. One, because I can abuse the hell out of it. I actually am a Twitch
That's a
shooter.
common response from veterans,
I am a Twitch shooter. I mean, my mouse sensitivity, I've got this Steel Series, and my DPI, I think, is at 2000 or something, but my sensitivity is at like a 3. Like, I'm not using my wrist, I'm using my arm.
Wow.
And I get Twitch shot, just as well as anybody else. I don't usually play the Sentinel. I don't like sniping. It just doesn't appeal to me. But the hit scan, I actually think there is an issue with the Ranger's hit scan. I can follow a target pretty well. I can unload, I'd say, at least 20, 24 rounds of the Ranger's bullet. It holds 32, I think.
To 28, I think.
Is it 28? Okay, so maybe like 20. But I can unload almost 3/4 of a clip in a guy. He's not dead. I don't like that. I don't like how I have to reload at least another time to get that kill back in. At times. Lights, they die fairly quick. Mediums, I think a soldier will actually destroy a Ranger. But heavies, if you go up against a heavy, chances are you're going to be dead anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I've had 4 clips into a heavy, and then they start frickin' regenning.
Yep.
And then you switch to the thumper, but you realize you don't have any bullets for it anymore because you used it all up on the way there.
Yeah.
So good. I'm actually glad that you say that. So I'm vindicated now.
It's got a weapon spread on it, just a little bit. I'm following the target fairly close, but some shots will hit, some will miss. I don't know. It's not a straight line. I know that much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you single shot it, like wait for the crosshair to close, and then tap, 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 you can actually shoot someone rather well. But by the time you've actually emptied your clip, they're capped their second flag already.
Yeah, I usually do a 3 burst, at least what I've done in Counter-Strike Source. I just hold down for a few seconds, let off, go back in. I don't know, that's what I've always done with hit scan weapons.
Yeah, but it doesn't work. I've tested it. It's a myth.
Yeah.
It's busted.
Alright, I'm back.
Right,
Hopefully that's resolved.
Sounds better for now.
You are no longer in the wheelchair. Good.
Alright, well, I do believe that's all the biggest, kind of debate, talk issues we had. Is there anything else that anyone can think of to talk about, or should we get into some war stories real quick? Everyone just share a nice war story they had in a match lately.
I've got 4.
Ooh, pick like 1 or 2 of the best.
Well, these
Under
should
30 minutes, please.
Yeah, these should be answered fairly quickly. Flag hitboxes. The flag hitbox seems very, very small compared to the T1 and T2. TV, I don't remember nearly as much because you actually had I think you had to hold down a button to pick it up. So is there any, improvements that you can think of when it comes to the flag hitbox? Is there any change that you may see happening in the future?
Flag hitbox. You're talking about the collision cylinder basically for the flag, so how big it is when you can go through it.
Yeah.
We have played with it kind of at different points during development. At one point it was so tall that you could pick up the flag with your toe over the top of a heavy's head, which was that was pretty annoying. So we've messed with it a few times. I mean, if it's something that kind of comes out through surveys and through the forums, it seems to be a really large issue. Sure, I mean we can address it, but right now I don't see too much hate for it, and I don't really necessarily experience a lot of issues with the flag being smaller than I anticipate. But I also have had more time in Ascend than anyone else. Really.
I mean, it's like, let's say in Rabbit or when I'm picking up the flag, it feels just like no more than a few inches away from me. But yeah, it'll go right to the right of it or right to the left of it. It's just, I don't know, a little unique.
Yeah, I had a point last night actually. I was playing with Makasuro, and we were on the new map, and somebody dropped the flag, and I was chasing it down a cliff, down skiing with it, and the flag was in my viewpoint for at least 2 seconds, almost completely, and I could not pick it up. It was so weird.
Yeah, I've seen dog piles of 5 people running for it, as you do in a pub, and all 5 of them missed it. There was just a large group of people in the center. There was a flag not being returned. It's really funny to see.
Another one, hotkeys for loadouts. If you've already purchased one, is there a way that you would be able to assign, numpad to your purchased hotkeys?
Yeah, I don't. That's very.
Steven's back.
Yeah, you guys know. We are currently having. I need a power cycle.
All right.
Okay,
Maybe type it.
Sounds like we're starting. Oh, is it still just miserable?
It's fairly bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what I love about these kind of recordings, because I was getting worried nothing would go wrong. So yeah.
You want me to type it about kind of?
Maybe if you shout, we can hear you over the static.
I'm gonna unplug my mic. How about that?
Yeah, feel free to ask the questions, and Bart will type out a quick response, and we can read it so all the people on the podcast can listen to it.
So what about the hotkeys there? Or
I think he's beating his mic now.
I think he is.
Violence. Well, so yeah. Maybe I'll tell a story, but when everything this is going. I mean, I've had a whale of a time with, but I've actually posted this on the forum as well when I pushed someone down a well, Sparta style. That was nice to see. It was a heavy in our generator, and he was there a while now, and he was been taunting people the entire time. So I throw a grenade in there. He falls off the bridge. This is Katabatic. He falls off. He uses all of his jets, because he wasn't moving anyway, to get up there, right there, and then he doesn't make it. He flies to the side of the pit and tries to jump out of it, and just quite doesn't make it. And he just literally, his model was like, his knees were against the platform, so just a centimeter more and he would have made it. And I just stood there. He was reloading a spin fuse. He couldn't do anything. And I stood there, stared at him, and didn't shoot anything, just saw him fall to the abyss. And then I got in chat to reply, "Fuck you."
Alright, did that fix anything?
Sounds good again.
That fixed something, yes.
Yeah.
Alright, we'll see.
So, hotkeys.
Hotkeys. I think that's one of those things where it just seems like that's so intuitive as something that, I would love to add that. I guess is,
Fair enough.
the point there. I don't see any reason not to. I guess it's probably the best answer. It's like, that's such an easy win, It's like, I'm sure that's something that everyone can at some point once, and if we don't do it, there'll be some kind of script that someone will write somewhere that'll just do it anyway. So it's like,
Yeah.
It's like we're playing on a PC and we have no use for the numpad right now. Why not use it for something?
Yeah.
Fair.
What else? Two, I don't know, they're not really hot topics, but there are topics that people have blown up on Tribal War and also on the forums. Weapon inheritance when it comes to like the disc, because it does seem a tad bit slow. Like let's say I'm going 260, 264.
Don't shoot.
And it just doesn't. It just maintains the same speed anywhere I go.
That basically is being tested and changed kind of in subsequent patches. I mean, I think got on the forums at one point, the lead programmer, and kind of asked some questions about it, and I know he's been toying and things were just values. Like, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80.
Yeah. Well, Steven's back, but I got your I got your answer. And then
so for the people who didn't, it's about testing the right percentage, and they're doing it in-house right now, and it's going to be in one of the next patches. There you go. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just when you're going 350, just don't shoot that speed fuse. It's going to end badly.
That would be another fun accolade to have, killing yourself with your own disc while flying.
The accolade will be called, "It'll be in the next patch." Two quick ones. Disc jumps. You don't get that initial push like you did in T1 or T2. Any thought? Any overlooking of that?
There's not too much that I really know about any. I mean, I know that kind of speed and movement is something that's still very much in flux, and that definitely is part of that.
Yeah.
So I would, I can't really say anything on it right now that I'm aware of that's planned.
And lastly, splash damage for the disc, and I think Archangel had that. Yeah, the mortar.
Just splash damage around those. That's again, that's one of those things where it's like that's being evaluated, and that's one of the things that's going to come out through gameplay statistics. Just in aggregate, is it needed or not?
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys have those active tracking statistics like that, or is this more feedback?
I'm sorry?
Do you guys have like in-game tracking that sends reports of every match played for research purposes, or is this sort of research that you're doing through playing it yourself?
No, more statistics from people playing.
Right. Everyone start playing Juggernaut.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions?
When's the release?
Done.
I'm sorry?
No, I jokingly said when's the release date, but
Never.
When it's done.
Never.
Yeah.
We're going to be stuck in a Minecraft.
We're running a Google beta here.
It's gonna be a 4-year beta here, just like Gmail.
Yep.
You've got a record to beat with Minecraft, though.
All right. Anyone have any cool stories they want to share before we get to the beta key giveaway?
I played last night.
We're all waiting.
I played last night and made Bart.
I was actually filming last night for my soldier video.
You should throw that in somewhere.
Playing nothing but soldier all night, and it was very frustrating.
And to think, when I first started, I thought the soldier was pretty good, and then I pre-ordered and bought a bunch of classes.
Everybody, I know that's one of like my favorite kind of. I log on to the forum and I see the soldier is overpowered thread, just like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then like a month later, it was like what about this ranger though? Thread.
You must be new here.
I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like I'm just going to see like a different thread at some point over the next 2 years for each loadout being like, this is so overpowered.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I'll just tomorrow morning I'll make all of those for all the classes. We can just keep bumping them.
There you go. Yeah, it'll just be one of those like typical forum threads where it's like if it's popular, it's overrated. If it's blah blah blah, one of those things where it's just like everyone is contrary all the time about everything, and I think.
And I saw Smooth B getting his final warning. That was kind of painful.
Oh, from Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've also been on the server. I don't know. He wasn't really that high in this experience, but I've been called a disc noob for killing someone with a spin fuser midair.
Oh, that's a good one.
And that was kind of painful.
That's pretty funny. So you got people that are like, you aren't using hit scan? What a noob.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my god, the spin fuser, fucking noob tube. I went, have you recently bought a game with a 3 in it, perhaps?
I saw some people talking about, it was a joke, but it was pretty funny. I think it was Mayog was talking about how disc launcher is a weapon for noobs who couldn't figure out what to do with people with chain guns in Tribe 1. Weren't good enough to actually chain gun, so they went ahead and used the disc. Really, it's more like their interpolate wasn't good enough, or their anti-interpolate wasn't good enough to chain gun.
Yeah. Wonderful. So you see, people are having fun with the game and actually seeing these things. I mean, but because I'm actually playing the soldier a lot now because I finally got that ranger perk. I'm just going to put it aside for a while and play some user classes. And yeah, I mean, I just now had 3 MAs on a flag carrier in a round, and I was actually on Mumble, I believe it was, with that guy, and it's like, nah, it's real good fun.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I was sharing war stories. I was playing about a week ago, and I was playing soldier, I think, and I was on Crossfire. And it was, just typical pub. There was like 6 dudes just coming across that center back to front, or front to back route. I mean, and I MA'd one and then melee'd him to kill him. That was pretty satisfying.
I had a really fun flag capture at one point. I was on Katabatic. I was playing on, I believe I was Blood Eagle, and I capped the flag heading towards behind our base. And just as I capped it, somebody actually picked it up and was on the same path as me. So I turned around, hit him with 1 disc, and it was the 1-hit kill, and it was just awesome. Cap and then killer, the flag carrier, all in the same ski motion. It was really fun.
That's a good one.
I think I got like a 300-some yard midair not too long ago. It was actually 2 days ago. So the new was it Belly Omega or whatever capper running through that middle cavern thing on one of the middle caverns. And I'm just out in the distance, not really caring, and I see him running. I was like, all right, well, I'm in Pathfinder. I'll go. I disc jumped, shot this disc, didn't expect it to hit, ran right into it. I heard the money sign or the ching. And I'm like, oh wow, that's didn't expect that. And I've gotten several midair tank shots. Those are funny.
Oh, really?
Those are fun to people don't expect it. Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I just now I had an 855 meter kill. Ooh. Now I will admit it was on Omega, but it was by suicide. Now there was a guy chasing, and I hit him with my disc, and he flew away. And I thought, well, I'm never going to see him again. Literally, like 15, 20 seconds later, I get this kill reward. And in the chat, there's suddenly a WTF. And I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know either. And he just probably through my thrust, he lost control, went too fast, and just slammed into the out-of-bounds grid. And that's 855 meters.
Did he run into the rock? Because there was that
wasn't
glitch.
Yeah, it might be something like that as well. And just my discs just boosted him along at, I don't know, maybe 88 miles an hour. Just going when he's probably in 1955 by now.
All right. Well, this puts us at pretty much exactly 1 hour, so I figured we might as well start with the details for the beta key giveaway if you want to give those, Graf.
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
I'm gonna hop off while you go ahead and do that. I gotta go attend
good.
this thing,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys
Thanks.
having me and keep me in the loop for the next ones. And what's up to
course.
all of us?
We'll-
Thanks for tuning in,
We
guys.
will be very faithful stalkers.
Definitely.
Perfect. All right. Thanks for all the invites, and I'll see you guys in game.
Thanks for coming along.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Stephen Hawking has left the building. So, the beta giveaway. We have 10 keys confirmed out of our own pockets and also from hirezbart. Very simple and very cheesy, very old school. We are going to have a little story writing competition. Namely, let's say 500 words because we have to read through them. We don't know what kind of feedback this is going to get. So, basically, you want a key, you explain to us why in 500 words, and be it falling to your knees begging, telling you that you are better than all you shit noobs and you need this key to go on and pwn, whatever, alright? Come up with something good, send it to Tweak, who's going to put details, well, because I'm not going to read all that shit, he's going to do that.
Of course.
And, and yeah, at the next podcast, which will be hopefully, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks from now, we will give out the winners, 10 winners. Or the 10 submissions that people actually gave.
Yep. I will be putting the email into the detail section of wherever I post this, but it will be shazpodcast@gmail.com, so you can go ahead and send any of your pleads there, and we will pick from those for the winners of our 10 keys.
Yep, there you go.
All right. Any farewell words between Mask or you, Graf?
I'll let Maz do the talking.
High res. Buff strikes.
Buff strikes.
I am really looking forward to what those games are going to bring to the table.
Oh, yeah.
And let's see what the next, because I'm also curious what the next patch is, because it's been one patch a week, something like that. And I'm really curious as to what's going to happen next week.
Speaking of that tournament, I will be posting the link to the Google Docs team roster where all you randos can go ahead and sign up with either me on Team 1 or for the Europeans out there, Gress on Team 2. Feel free to sign up. It's completely openly editable, and that will be in the details of this as well.
Yeah, and if we win anything, I'll invite you all. I'll buy plane tickets for everyone. And I'll invite you to a Belgian pub somewhere.
Woohoo! Alright, I think that just about does it for the first episode of Shazpod. Thank you guys for coming along. Look forward to talking to you again.
Bye-bye.